Close your eyes for a moment and listen to the rhythm of your own breath. It rises and falls like the gentle tide of an invisible ocean. There is no effort in it. You do not command the air to enter, nor do you force it to leave. It simply flows. In this simple act of breathing, you are already touching the deepest truth of the universe. We often imagine that strength means standing still, like a great stone wall against the wind. We spend so much of our lives building dams, trying to hold back the river of time, trying to keep things exactly as they are. We grasp at moments, hoping to freeze them. We cling to people, to situations, and to our own identities, fearing that if we let go, we will lose everything. But the secret to peace is not in the holding on. The secret lies in the ancient wisdom of the water, the art of flowing. Imagine, if you will, a temple perched high above the clouds, where the mist clings to the ancient pines like a soft white blanket. In this place of silence there lived a young novice named Kaelo. Kaelo was diligent and earnest, but his heart was a knot of tension. He carried a heavy burden, the burden of how things should be. He wanted his meditation to be perfect. He wanted the garden to never grow weeds. He wanted the weather to be mild. He was constantly fighting a war against the reality of the present moment. One afternoon, Kaelo sat by the bank of a mountain stream. The water was crystal clear, born from the melting snow of the high peaks, rushing over smooth grey stones. Kaelo was frustrated. He was trying to stack stones to create a small dam, attempting to slow the current that seemed too fast, too chaotic for his liking. But every time he placed a stone, the water simply found a way around it, or the force of the current toppled his work. The old master, a man whose face was etched with the gentle lines of 1,000 smiles, walked down to the water's edge. He did not speak at first. He simply stood, watching the sunlight dance on the rippling surface. "The water is stubborn," Kaelo said, his voice tight with irritation. "It will not listen. It will not stay where I put it." The master sat down on the mossy earth, his movements slow and deliberate, like a leaf settling on the ground. "You are trying to teach the water to be a stone," the master said softly. "But the water knows it is water. Why do you not try to learn what the water knows?" Kaelo looked at his wet hands. "And what does the water know, master?" "Look." The master pointed to a large boulder in the middle of the stream. "The water meets the obstacle. Does it stop? Does it argue? Does it complain that the rock is in its way?" Kaelo watched. The water hit the rock, foamed white for a brief moment, and then effortlessly slipped around it, rejoining itself on the other side, continuing its journey to the sea. "It flows," Kaelo whispered. "It yields," the master corrected gently. "And because it yields, it overcomes. This is the nature of true power. This is the nature of mindfulness. When you resist change, you create suffering. You become the rock, battered by the current. But when you embrace change, you become the water. You are no longer hurt by the turns of the river because you are the river. Think of the times in your life when you felt the most pain. Was it not because you were demanding that reality be different than it was? We stand in the rain and demand the sun. We stand in the winter and mourn the summer. This resistance creates a turbulence in the soul that clouds our clarity. The master reached into the stream. "Observe," he said. He cupped his hands and lifted them, filled with water. "When I offer my hands as a cradle, the water stays. It rests in the hollow of my palms, reflecting the sky and the trees." Then the master clenched his fist tight, trying to grab the water, trying to possess it. Instantly, the water squirted through his fingers and returned to the stream. His fist was empty. "It is the great paradox of our existence," the master smiled, opening his wet hand to the air. "When you stop looking, you find. When you stop fighting, you win. And when you stop holding, it stays." To flow like water is to trust the direction of the current. It is to understand that the bend in the river is not an obstacle, but a new path. It is to accept that the water which flows past you now is gone forever, and that is beautiful. New water is always arriving. Mindfulness is not about freezing the world into a perfect picture. It is about sailing the boat of your attention on the ever-moving waters of the now. It is watching the smoke of a candle curl and vanish, knowing that its vanishing is part of its nature. It is watching the fog lift from the valley, revealing the mountains that were always there. When you allow yourself to be fluid, you lose your rigidity. You become soft, yet unbreakable. A sword can cut a flower, but it cannot cut the water. The water simply parts and reforms. When you encounter anger, be like water. Let it pass through you. When you encounter fear, be like water. Acknowledge it and flow around it. When you encounter change, do not build a dam, build a boat. Breathe in deeply now. Imagine your breath is a stream of light entering your body, flowing into every space, loosening every knot. And as you breathe out, imagine you are releasing all the stones you have been carrying, the worries of tomorrow, the regrets of yesterday. Let them drop into the deep, silted bottom of the river, leaving you light, clear, and moving. There is a profound silence at the center of the flow. It is not the silence of an empty room, but the silence of a bird gliding on the wind. It is the peace of total alignment with what is. Remember, the river does not know where the ocean is. It has no map. It simply follows the path of least resistance, moment by moment, responding to the gravity of the earth. And yet, without fail, it always finds the sea. You too will find your way. You do not need to force the path. You only need to trust the flow. If this story resonated with you, And if you found a moment of stillness within these words, please support the channel. It helps us share our wisdom with others and keep this sanctuary of peace open for all who seek it. May you flow with grace through the river of your days.